Hey there everybody, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you how you can safely and cleanly remove baseboard from a wall. So I'll show you some little tips and tricks and walk you through how I do it, making sure that we don't damage the wall or the baseboard. So if you're planning on reusing the baseboard, hopefully this video can help you out. By the way, this channel is all about home projects. I do a lot of do-it-yourself projects around the house, and I also do home product reviews, trying to make your place a better space. That's the idea. So anyway, these are the tools that I typically use. You can see I've got kind of a curved, flat crowbar-like tool here, and instead of a hammer. But you could certainly, experiment and see kind of if you have, the end of a hammer or maybe a crowbar itself. I like something that's really thin-tipped or as thin as possible. Something to kind of get behind there. And you can see I have a little piece of scrap wood that I'm using to protect the drywall. That is going to be an important concept depending on how easily your baseboard removes. In this case, it's not too bad, but I'm definitely glad I have one. So I'll give you another view here in a second of how I do this and where I start. But you can see the concept is to get that little crowbar behind the baseboard and use that little piece of scrap metal and basically pry that out. Now, baseboard can get pretty stubborn. You can see we've got some pretty long brad nails stuck in there, usually at the ends, middle, that maybe align with the studs in the wall, right? You'll have to kind of see what your setup is. But these are generally the tools that I use, and you can see I've removed some baseboard here very safely. Here's another view, and here's my big tip. If you take your crowbar or your pry bar and you start in the middle, can you see between the two sets of brad nails? That is going to be your entry point. So you'll slide that pry bar behind there. That's going to be the easiest point for you to get your tool back in there. Once it's in there, then you can slowly start to move it to the right or to the left. The idea is you don't start to pry, so don't pull out right now, because that is going to be a weak point and you can risk damaging your baseboard. Okay, so watch what I do here. I put the pry bar in the middle. That's going to allow the pry bar to safely get in between the drywall and the baseboard. And then I will put my protective piece of scrap metal, and I'm going to gently kind of rock it. I'm not going to try to undo it. I'm just going to gently try to rock it. Notice my technique there. It's kind of you generally kind of almost vibrate the pry bar a little bit. And you're trying to just get that up and out, detached from the drywall. And then I'm going to move my pry bar to the right. And the key is you don't start to actually pull until you get the pry bar behind those screws, or really, really close, not the screws, but the brad nails. Get them really, really close to the brad nails. And that will provide you a really strong point to basically pry those screws. Why do I keep saying screws? Pry those brad nails out from inside the drywall. Can you see that? So this is kind of where I'm at. You can see the right set of brad nails. There we go. That's the sweet spot right there. And I can go ahead and pry those out as much as possible. Now, I don't want to bend. The left side is still attached, right? So I don't want to. That one's pretty loose, but I don't need to actually take it all the way out at this point. I just need to feel good that most of that is loose. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the left, okay? It's going to be pretty tight to the left because those brad nails to the left are, of course, securing that baseboard really well to the drywall. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to vibrate and then move to the left. Vibrate, move to the left, if that makes sense. I just need to continually create space between the baseboard and the drywall. Get that thick pry bar back there, because that's the point, right? That pry bar does have some width. And then once I feel like I'm in a good spot, boom, I can pop that out. And that's how you do it there. Now, when you get to corner pieces, be really careful. So if you start prying on the corner piece, you can see I've got a brad nail right there to the right, just to the right of my crowbar. I'm actually going to damage the wall, and I'll show you why here. The concept behind this. Corner pieces, if this is a professionally installed baseboard, you're going to have, give it a closer look, you're going to have brad nails that are actually put in kind of perpendicularly to the There we go. There's a better shot of it. There's 2 brad nails that were shot in through the other piece, the connecting piece of baseboard, and that was creating a problem, right? So you can't just pry that out. You have to be really careful, and I'll show you a little tip here. So here is a fresh kind of 90-degree corner baseboard meeting baseboard. We've got brad nails. You can look for the brad nails. Usually there's some patch that they use to cover those up, but you can usually see the outline of the brad nail head right there. And so what I'm going to do, just kind of like the technique I did before, I'm going to gently work my crowbar in between the baseboard and the drywall. And I'm going to focus. This is such a short piece here. I've got to be really careful. I've got to focus on that brad nail to get my crowbar behind that for the optimum force. But to do so, I'll have to come over here to the right, create a little more separation in that looser spot. There's no brad nail all the way to the right there. And you can see I've also nicked the drywall just a little bit. A little patch later will take care of that. So there we go. Let me loosen that up just a little, and then I'll come over here to the actual brad nail and exert most of my force there. Now here's what I'm going to be careful of. Look in between that corner piece before you start pulling out too hard, right? There's the brad nail and then to the left, that corner piece will actually have a brad nail. You can take a little rotary tool with a metal cutter on the end of it and just go ahead and splice that. If you have a little saw or anything that will basically get through there and cut. In this case, I got a little lucky. There's not too big of a brad nail going through a little one. So you can kind of just look there first, get a flashlight and see, what you're dealing with before you pull that all the way off. Otherwise, you can create some major damage to your drywall. But that's kind of the idea. Now, the brad nails themselves, once you remove the baseboard, will either be stuck in the wall like this, or they'll actually come out with your baseboard. So if they're stuck on the wall, you could try removing them like this, but brad nails don't have a big kind of head on the end of them. So if you try to remove them, you're going to slip and you're not going to be able to grab them with a hammer like this. You may be able to. You can certainly try it, but I typically don't do that. So you could just pound them in. That's a possibility. Just say, see you later, forget them, and never see them again, right? Obviously, you run the risk if they're still there. If you go to reattach drywall, you might actually hit your new brad nail into the old one. That's a 1 in a million shot, but if you're using the same holes, something to be aware of. So you could pound those in, or show you a couple little ideas on how you could remove them. They may just pull out, but if they're professionally done, they're going to be attached to a stud, and that'll be really hard to do. So you could take a pliers and just kind of wiggle them back and forth like this. Can you see that? And that's going to just essentially that metal, the brad nail will just snap, and it doesn't take very long at all. That was pretty quick. So just kind of move it back and forth, get as much swing as possible, and that will just snap off. And you may need to pop a little, take the hammer and smooth that out. So that's pretty smooth. So that's an option there for you. You could also take a pliers and wiggle those out, but that's it. Little home do-it-yourself trick there for you. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. Thanks.